In North Carolina, as in most of the nation, access to safe drinking water seems to be taken with a grain of salt. The process of purifying water is actually quite involved. The raw water from lakes, rivers, and creeks is pumped into treatment plants like the D.E. Benton plant in Raleigh, where it is then analyzed and disinfected. A sophisticated lab performs extensive tests and adds the necessary chemicals, and once purified, it is pumped out to the residents to either use or drink, with never a second thought from you or me. Inside a North Carolina State University laboratory, researchers from the College of Natural Resources have come up with a less sophisticated water purification system, but one that provides safe drinking water nonetheless. What started as an experiment to create an absorbent material for diapers became much more than what they had anticipated. The scientists actually came up with a foam substance with super absorbing properties by combining byproducts from the lumber industry and, believe it or not, crustacean shells. What they discovered was this material was like a super absorbent sponge that could not only absorb water, but could also extract contaminants like salt and heavy metals.
In this, we found out that not only does this material take up water very well in these saline conditions, but it was also pulling out the dissolved materials from the salt water as well. So it wasn't just taking up the water and the salt water, but it's also pulling the salt out of the water and binding it as well, which led us to this invention.
Seeing how effective this invention was in extracting salt, Pollock wondered what else this new foam could absorb. In one experiment, his researchers dissolved arsenic in water to simulate the contaminated water sometimes found in developing countries. After taking measurements, they found this spongy foam was capable of removing nearly all of the contaminants.
Nuclear operators say the pools have been upgraded to accommodate the added fuel. They say they are taking notes as details of the accident in Japan come to light, reminded that an identical valve failure that started the trouble at 3 Mile Island occurred at another nuclear plant in Ohio 18 months before. But that crucial piece of information was not shared.
Last year, one of the major health risks posed after Japan's devastating nuclear crisis was the radioactive iodide that dissolved in the country's drinking water. Curious about the foam's ability to remove radioactive material, Pollock and his team tested it, and once again, the sponge extracted nearly all of it.
Of course, we're just a year since Fukushima and everything that happened there. There were some real concerns with the drinking water and dissolved radioactive materials in that water. So being able to treat all kinds of dissolved solids and take those out of the water, that's what we would like to focus on.
Pollock agrees more research needs to be done, but he is at a point where they are looking for investors who would like to help mass produce this spongy material to be used in a variety of ways. On a smaller scale, he says, it could be used like a tea bag to purify a glass or bowl of water needed in a war zone or in a third world country. More tests are also being conducted to see how it could be used on a larger scale to be used as a filter in a makeshift water purification plant.